Miss Wanda has once again found herself at the center of controversy, this time placing blame where it doesn't belong. In a moment that has left fans shaking their heads and hearts heavy, Wanda has pointed the finger at Melody, claiming that it was her fault Tisha and KeKe fell out. It's a claim that feels not only misplaced but cruel, especially in the shadow of KeKe's passing, a loss that has already left so many people emotional, reflective, and searching for peace. The timing of Wanda's words has reopened old wounds, and the conversations surrounding her comments have reignited questions about accountability, family loyalty, and how far some people are willing to go to deflect responsibility. When the news first spread that Tisha Scott had expressed missing her cousin KeKe, it caught many people by surprise. Viewers remembered how things once were: the laughter, the shared family ties, and the deep hurt that unfolded on national television. It's no secret that KeKe and Tisha's bond had been broken long before tragedy struck. So when Tisha publicly expressed that she missed her cousin, many wondered whether it was guilt speaking or a late realization of how short life truly is. But before any real healing could take place, Miss Wanda's voice rose once again, clouding the moment with blame. Instead of focusing on loss, love, or reconciliation, Wanda turned the spotlight onto Melody, suggesting that Melody was the one who caused this painful rift between cousins. That accusation didn't sit right with many. People who followed the story from the beginning know that the issues between KeKe and Tisha were deeply rooted within their own family. It was not Melody who created tension between them, it was pain, pride, and years of silent competition and misunderstanding. KeKe was outspoken, bold, and honest about her life. She wasn't afraid to own her truth or face the things she had gone through, including her past struggles. She was the type of woman who, even in her flaws, refused to let others define her story. And that was something that some people, including her own cousin, struggled to accept. The tension between KeKe and Tisha wasn't born the day Melody came into their lives. It had existed long before that. But when KeKe joined the show, those private cracks in their relationship became public, and what might have been a quiet family disagreement turned into a televised feud. Miss Wanda, being protective of her daughter, never held back her opinions. She made it known that she didn't approve of KeKe being part of the cast. And now, in her latest comments, Wanda seems to be rewriting history, painting Melody as the villain who turned family into enemies. It's an easy narrative, one that shifts attention away from Tisha's actions, away from Wanda's own influence, and places the entire weight of the situation on Melody's shoulders. But the truth is far more complicated. When KeKe spoke, she spoke for herself. She wasn't manipulated. She wasn't brainwashed. She wasn't a pawn in anyone's plan. She was a grown woman, standing in her own power, finally telling her side of the story after being silenced or dismissed for too long. Melody might have given her a platform, but KeKe decided to speak. And anyone who truly paid attention could see that her frustrations with Tisha didn't begin with the cameras, they were the result of years of tension that had never been properly addressed. KeKe wanted honesty. She wanted respect. She wanted to be seen as more than just the cousin who was always compared to Tisha. That's what makes Wanda's comments so frustrating for so many. Because rather than acknowledging the pain both women carried, rather than understanding that both Tisha and KeKe were victims of family division and pride, Wanda chose to continue the blame game. And to bring Melody's name into it, at a time when the family should be grieving and reflecting, only deepens the wound. It's one thing to protect your child. It's another to rewrite the truth and vilify someone else just to make your own narrative look cleaner. As people began reacting online, the emotions were mixed: sadness, frustration, disbelief. Many pointed out how Wanda has always had a pattern of deflection. Instead of guiding Tisha toward growth and reflection, she often fuels her daughter's resentment. Viewers have seen it season after season. Whenever accountability approaches, Wanda steps in and diverts the attention elsewhere. This time, her target was Melody. And while some of her fans might agree with her perspective, the majority of people see through it. They see a mother trying to protect her daughter's image at all costs, even when it means placing false blame on someone who had already moved on from the drama. The sad part is that KeKe isn't here to defend herself. She can't speak her truth anymore. And that silence has made this situation even heavier. People who once watched her bring life and authenticity to every scene are now left with memories, questions, and a deep sense of loss. To watch Wanda speak on her name, while deflecting responsibility feels disrespectful to her memory. It's one thing to express regret or pain. It's another to use someone's absence as a shield for your own mistakes. When Tisha said she missed KeKe, some believed her. Others didn't. They remembered the episodes where Tisha appeared cold, where she sided with her husband as he dismissed or shaded KeKe, where she stood silent while her mother made cruel remarks about her own cousin. People remember the laughter that came at KeKe's expense, the subtle digs, the emotional distance. So now, when tears are shed and apologies are implied, people can't help but question if it's genuine or if it's just too little, too late. And that's the tragedy of it all. Because death doesn't wait for reconciliation. It doesn't pause for clarity. Once it arrives, it freezes everything in place, the love, the resentment, the words that were never said. KeKe's passing has forced people to reflect, not just on her life but on how easily people can turn on each other when pride gets in the way. This wasn't just a family argument. It was a cycle of miscommunication and hurt feelings, fueled by outside opinions and magnified by the cameras. Melody might have been part of the environment, but she was never the cause. In fact, Melody and KeKe's connection predated the show. They had known each other for years, from their time at Alabama A&M University. Their relationship wasn't built on gossip or manipulation, it was rooted in shared experiences and mutual respect. To imply that Melody somehow orchestrated a family breakdown is not only false but deeply unfair. Still, Wanda continues to push that idea that somehow, everything that goes wrong in her family can be traced back to Melody. It's an exhausting pattern, one that has long stopped making sense. Because blaming Melody doesn't bring KeKe back. It doesn't heal Tisha's guilt. It doesn't mend broken family ties. All it does is continue the cycle of bitterness that has plagued this family for years. And at this point, it feels like Wanda's refusal to let go of her resentment toward Melody has become an identity of its own. Whenever her daughter is in conflict, Melody's name finds its way into the conversation. Whenever Tisha faces criticism, Wanda is there to redirect the fire. It's like an unending echo of misplaced anger. Fans online didn't hold back their opinions. Some wrote that Tisha always seemed threatened by KeKe's presence. They believed KeKe had qualities that Tisha lacked: confidence, transparency, and a willingness to speak the truth even when it was uncomfortable. Others pointed out how Tisha seemed to measure her worth by her marriage, her home, and her image, often comparing herself to others rather than looking inward. Meanwhile, KeKe had no problem admitting her struggles, including her battle with addiction, and that honesty made her relatable to viewers. Instead of pretending to be perfect, she showed her humanity. And that, in many ways, is what drew people to her. So when Miss Wanda continues to tear down others, calling out Melody as the villain, it comes across as tone-deaf. Because the truth is, the only thing Melody did was give KeKe the opportunity to be heard. And isn't that what family should do? Listen? Melody didn't break this family apart, the family's unwillingness to communicate did. The judgment, the pride, and the unwillingness to acknowledge pain, those are the real reasons behind this divide. At this point in time, what people want to see is healing, not more blame. But with Wanda's latest remarks, healing seems farther away than ever. Instead of using this moment to bring her daughter and family together in peace, she's fanning the flames once again. And it's heartbreaking. Because grief can humble you, but it can also expose you. It can show the world what your heart truly holds: bitterness or compassion. Unfortunately, Miss Wanda's reaction has leaned more toward bitterness. The sad irony is that while she's out here blaming Melody, her daughter is still struggling to earn the audience's trust. Many still see Tisha as someone unwilling to take accountability, someone who hides behind her husband and her mother's strong voice instead of standing in her own. The longer Wanda keeps attacking others, the harder it becomes for people to see Tisha as her own woman. Every time Wanda speaks, she takes away her daughter's voice. Meanwhile, Melody continues to move forward with her life. She has her own path, her own peace, and her own story that no longer revolves around this constant cycle of drama. And that independence, that peace, might be exactly what bothers Wanda and Tisha the most. Because Melody no longer reacts. She doesn't engage. She doesn't let them pull her back into that dark space. And for people who thrive off chaos, that silence feels like power slipping away. In the end, what remains is a tragedy, a broken family, an unhealed wound, and a loss that should have united them but instead exposed how deep the cracks really go. The truth is simple: Melody did not cause the fallout between Tisha and KeKe. That fallout was the result of choices, pride, and unresolved tension. But for Miss Wanda, accepting that truth might be too heavy. Because it would mean facing her own role in how things turned out. It would mean acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, her constant interference didn't protect her daughter, it isolated her. As people continue to discuss Wanda's comments, the message is clear: sometimes silence would be the most respectful response. KeKe deserves peace. Her memory deserves dignity. And her story deserves to be told truthfully, not twisted into another talking point in a long-running feud. Because at the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, KeKe was loved. She was imperfect, yes, but she was real. And that authenticity is something that can't be rewritten, not by Wanda, not by anyone. This situation serves as a reminder that words carry weight, especially in moments of grief. When people are hurting, the last thing they need is someone stirring old pain. Miss Wanda might believe she's defending her daughter, but what she's really doing is reopening a wound that never had the chance to heal. And for those who truly cared about KeKe, her children, her friends, her fans, that's the hardest part to watch. Maybe one day, Tisha will step away from the noise and truly reflect. Maybe she'll see that love doesn't have to be proven by loyalty to those who protect your pride, but by being brave enough to admit when you were wrong. KeKe might be gone, but the lessons from her story still remain. Family can be complicated, but it's never too late to choose peace. Unfortunately, Miss Wanda hasn't chosen that.